Hi, I'm Emma, and you're watching My Birthway, and this is going to be one of the last episodes, at least the pregnancy part of it anyway, because I'm at 39 weeks now, so there's only a few more that I could possibly do before there's a video on labor and that kind of thing. Um, so, okay, so this week I'm feeling pretty good. You notice that I'm sitting up again. Last 2 weeks I was laying down. My legs are still just as swollen though. I mean, so it's kind of a toss-up between deciding if I want to lay down and have my legs actually start to hurt worse, like being really sore feeling when they touch each other and stuff, or just keep moving, which actually helps with the swelling to some degree. Sitting like the way I'm sitting now is actually like the worst. But I mean, it's just what it is. I can handle anything for a couple more weeks. So that's been really great, dealing with the swelling, but whatever. I mean, everybody has something that's hard, in their life or in their pregnancy especially. And so this time it's just going to be this. I tried to put the video lower this time so you could actually see my big stomach, and how, it's a big stomach. Looks like I've got a basketball. It still doesn't look like I'm pregnant from behind. It's just a big basketball of a stomach. But I might sound sleepy now just because it's nearing the end of the day, but I've had a pretty good amount of energy. I mean, of course, my energy flags more a little bit every day, but I'm not like so exhausted that I can't function or anything like that. I've been able to do a lot of stuff. Actually washed dishes today for like probably actually literally 5 hours, because there were that many dishes that need to be washed and our dishwasher doesn't work, and it hasn't worked for a long time. So this was just many of the things I already deal with anyway, but that was exciting to get all that kind of done and that kind of thing. But one thing that's interesting this week that I noticed a couple days ago was I had some cramps in my upper leg, and that can be related to labor, but it didn't seem like it was because it was very isolated. It wasn't like up by my groin. And I did some more reading. I had a friend do some reading for me too, about like what that could be, and it was kind of what I suspected, which was that I probably just needed more water and maybe more like electrolytes, potassiums, magnesiums, things like that. Like maybe I hadn't eaten enough that day or something. I think I'd eaten enough. I just think I overdid it that day. I shopped like all day. I went shopping with my mom, went to all these different stores to get the last like things I think I needed, most of the last things and all that. And then I also like cleaned out the car, vacuumed out the car, because we're farmers, so there's like hay and leaves in the back of the car, so I wanted to get that cleaned out so that we could put our car seat in and get ready for going to the birth center and get ready for bringing the baby home and everything. I partially packed my birth bag, not enough, of course, but the baby clothes have been washed, which is exciting, and so I was able to pick out 3 different sizes, because I don't know how big this baby's going to be. You never know. Of like onesies to put the kid in, and some socks, and it's hot out, so there's need to be lots of layers, but like a blanket or two, like a swaddling blanket to kind of put over them in the car seat if they're chilly on the way home. I'll be riding in the back with them, so I'll be able to assess that, hopefully, if I know what I'm doing at all. But so that was fun to kind of pick that out and put that in the baby diaper bag and pack some diapers, and just the baby part of the birth bag. I kind of have that ready, so that was nice to feel. I still don't have an outie belly button. I don't know if you can see, but it's still barely an innie. It's like almost flattening out, and it's a little bit like leaning to this direction of my body, which is funny. So I still don't have an outie. I kind of don't think I'm going to get one, and I still don't have any stretch marks. So I don't know if I'm going to get any of those either, but I have had friends tell me that they got them the last few days, and I don't care either way if I get an outie or stretch marks. That's just the way nature works. I'm okay with it. But it's just interesting to note that it hasn't happened yet to me, even though I still feel very basketball-y and very like straight out. It seems like that would be a time to get stretch marks, but also, so our appointment that we went to last week, we have another one coming up again, because now we're at the once a week kind of phase of appointments. I did have some protein in my urine this time, which I told you is one of the things that they look for, or that's why they do the screening, to look for preeclampsia or eclampsia or toxemia, which is a pretty scary thing that can happen to women. and it's complicated what causes it and why it does what it does, but a woman can have seizures and die, worst case scenario. Usually it's treatable these days because most care providers catch it. But instead of having no protein in my urine or trace amounts, which would be on the normal scale or completely normal, I had 1. It's like a scale from 1 to 4. And 1 is also not a big deal, but they want to monitor you and just like, oh, we'll check you next week and see. But that freaked me out, of course, hearing that we had, 1. But when the midwife came in the room, she said that she had just been looking into research about it. And it looks like that ACOG, which is the Association of... Wait. My brain is not working. It's not the association. It's the something college of obstetricians and gynecologists. So, and they make a lot of medical, proclamations that hospitals tend to follow, or they don't always, they should. They're like way behind on following them sometimes. But the midwife was saying that they recently came out with research into studies and things that said that testing protein in the urine is actually a stupid way to measure preeclampsia, and that is an issue. Just like swelling, because the reason swelling would be scary was that there are better ways to look for it, and it isn't even really that much of a correlation. It kind of ends up being more false positives. Blood pressure is one of the ones that they should monitor. My blood pressure went up a tiny bit, but not much. So that's good. And that doesn't matter. It's still in the normal range. So that's another thing they would look for, that they're going to check for next week. Also, I've noticed that I've been craving fruits especially, and some more carbs, which is, I've been eating more carbohydrates during this pregnancy than I do in normal real life. But during this span of time, I've been more interested in that too. So my mom was always like, her last week of pregnancy, she felt like she wanted to eat all this ridiculous sweet carb crap, like cinnamon buns all the time and stuff. And she thought that maybe it was so she was going to store up energy for labor. I don't know. Maybe that's what's happening to me. Maybe it's just psychological. I don't know. So I've also felt that the baby has dropped a bit. Not fully dropped, not fully engaged in the pelvis. I don't think that's happened. The midwife or the nurse that we saw for our last appointment, she said that she thought the baby was down pretty far, not fully engaged, as I thought. But I have noticed that. I think there's been movement down a little bit. I've noticed that the head movements that I feel and the hand movements that I feel are lower. And maybe that's just because the kid's getting bigger and longer and fatter. They need more space, so they're moving down, or just to get ready for labor and all that. But that's great. I mean, that's good news. So that's one thing I've noticed. I have been submerging myself in water. That sounds weird to say that. A couple different times, like a little pool thing we've set up in the backyard. And that is supposed to help with water retention and swelling and that kind of thing. And I think it does. Because I mentioned, I think in a different video, that I'd gone to the lake. And that night, I really think it made a huge difference. Or that night and the next day. I don't know if being submerged in the water in the backyard, even though I'm submerged for the same amount of time, maybe I'm not as deep in the water. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Has also helped some. I just have to remember to keep drinking a whole bunch of water. And it's been super hot, so I have been able to remember that, mostly.